Alleged Mountain View Don gunned down on Windward Road. An alleged Don was killed in a brazen afternoon shootout on Windward Road on Tuesday. Reporters understand that the deceased, identified thus far as his alias Dangles, hailed from Mountain View. He was reportedly gunned down in an attack carried out by an armed motorcyclist. According to eyewitnesses, two men drove up along the vehicle the now deceased was traveling and opened fire. He was hit multiple times. The vehicle then crashed into an embankment in the area. The area was cornered off as the police processed the scene. Former Taki High School principal to return to court July 14. Former principal of Taki High School, Erol Basco, who is facing the court on burglary charges, will have another month to wait before his case is mentioned again. Basco, also a former People's National Party standard bearer for St. Mary Western, appeared in the St. Mary Parish Court on Tuesday. His bail was extended to July 15. Presiding Judge Kelly mentioned to his lawyer as West Senior Smith that she wanted to have a hearing early date set for the accused. However, due to Senior Smith's absence on May 14, a date was set to accommodate his attendance at the next session. Basco has his $600,000 bail extended until then. His charges related to an alleged encounter with a 23-year-old man from Gill St. Mary who had reportedly sought the assistance of the educator in a legal matter. Curfew extended in St. Andrew South. A 48-hour curfew has been imposed into Varys Garden, Mary Avenue and McCoy Lane communities of the St. Andrew South Division. The curfew began at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, June 11, and will remain in effect until 6 p.m. on Thursday, June 13. The boundaries of the curfew are north from Oakland Road and Tillassie Drive intersection to Howard Avenue and South Anderson intersection, east from Oakland Road and Tillassie Drive intersection, traveling along Oakland to Spanish Town Road intersection, south from Oakland Road to Spanish Town Road and to Delacree Lane intersection, west from Delacree Lane to Spanish Town Road intersection following an imaginary line to Howard Avenue vicinity of South Anderson intersection. During the hours of the curfew, all individuals within its boundaries are required to remain within their premises unless otherwise authorized by the Ground Commander. Jamaica's first female House Speaker, Violet Nielsen, has died. The first woman to serve as Speaker of Jamaica's House of Representatives, Violet Nielsen, has died. Nielsen, who served in several People's National Party administration under Prime Minister P.J. Patterson, died Tuesday afternoon while the House in a session. She was 93. A former teacher, Nielsen also served as the first female president of the Jamaica Agricultural Society. Current House Speaker Juliet Holness made the announcement of the motion for the adjournment of the sit-in. Members, while we sat here in Parliament about an hour and a half ago, our first female Speaker of the House of Representatives, Violet Nielsen, passed away, Holness said about 6:33 p.m. Nielsen, a highly regarded Speaker, was Member of Parliament for St. James East Central from 1989 to 1997. Holness said the House will indicate at its next sitting when tributes will be paid to the former Speaker. Transport Minister says concerns regarding the merit system other issues being addressed. Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport Darrell Valls says the concerns raised by all parties involved in the transport sector have been heard and are being reviewed. This after a meeting between transport operators and other stakeholders on Tuesday. Minister Valls, who made an unannounced visit at the meeting, mandated the stakeholders to provide him with a full review of the issues raised by transport operators. I came in person to make sure that I give them the mandate that I want a full review of the issues that have been raised by the transport operators. I cannot say what the result will be, but everybody would have gotten a fair share and a fair hearing. Some of the concerns that they have raised are legitimate concern, he said, outlining that the meeting was born out of the need to address all the concerns expressed by public and private motorists. The meeting involved members of the Transport Authority, Jamaica Constabulary Force, Island Traffic Authority, members of the Public Transport Operators Steering Committee, and technical representatives from the ministry, representatives from Jamaica Association of Transport Owners and Operators, National Council of Taxi Association, All Voice, National Transport Alliance Group, Spanish Town Taxi Association, Jamaica Association of Hackney Contract Carrier, and other sector operators. One of the concerns addressed at the gathering involved the issuing of suspension of driver's license on account of accumulated demerit points. Reporters understand that a decision was taken to further discuss the matter at another meeting in the coming week. According to a release on Tuesday, following the completion of that exercise, the recommendation or recommendations will be made to the Transport Minister for his consideration. The issue of individuals who have already reached the threshold of demerit points for suspension of license up to the point of the review will also be addressed in future meetings. Tuesday's meeting came after island-wide strike action by numerous taxi operators left commuters stranded on Monday. While admitting that certain concerns highlighted by the transport operators need to be addressed, Minister Voss is insisting that Monday's protest action was unwarranted. There was no winner yesterday. Jamaica lost, the taxi operators that withdrew their services lost. They didn't earn a dollar from yesterday. And what was the result? The meeting that was promised would have had happened whether they demonstrated, withdrew their services or not, he said. Let good sense prevail, and let us continue communication, collaboration, and consensus where possible. Jamaica to embrace Twin Peaks model of supervision and regulation of financial sector by 2026, stated Clark. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark on Tuesday gave an update on the so-called Twin Peaks model of supervision and regulation of the financial sector. The minister, who was speaking on Tuesday in the House of Representatives, first announced the government's intention to reform and enhance a system of supervision and regulation of the country's financial sector in January 2023. At the time, the Bank of Jamaica (BOJ) was charged with leading a collaborative process in the introduction of the legislative framework and operational arrangements necessary to bring about the change. Clark told the House on Tuesday that under the Twin Peaks model, the BOJ will assume full responsibility of the financial supervision of all bank and non-bank financial institutions. At the same time, the Financial Service Commission (FSC) will be transformed into a new regulatory entity that will supervise all bank and non-bank financial institutions from the perspective of market conduct and the protection of consumers of financial services. The system of financial sector supervision that emerged after the financial sector meltdown of the 1990s is now in urgent need of a radical overhaul and significant strengthening. It is clear from the escalation of public complaints about banking services, for example, that it is imperative for there to be introduction of a comprehensive and robust consumer protection framework for financial sector services, Clark stated. He noted that the legislative framework for this is not presently in place, but the government was committed to addressing this gap as a matter of urgency. It is clear from the high-profile instances of fraud involving financial institutions and the funds of depositors and investors that there is a need for strengthening to the supervisory framework for all financial institutions to address this. The adoption of the new Twin Peaks model will change the existing bifurcated supervisory architect and sector-by-sector regulatory approach. This approach presently sees BOJ as regulator for deposit-taking institutions (DTIs) only, with the FSC having regulatory oversight of non-DTIs only, Clark shared. He added that the new regulatory architecture, once implemented, will see the prudential regulation of commercial banks, building societies, merchant bank, microcredit institutions, and eventually credit unions, along with non-DTIs comprising security details, insurance companies, and pension funds, being consolidated into one regulatory peak under the supervision of the BOJ. Similarly, all market conduct and consumer protection regulation will be consolidated into the only peak under proposed Financial Services Conduct Authority (FSCA), which will be successor agency for the FSC. The FSCA, once fully implementation of the Twin Peaks model, will be responsible for market conduct and regulation and financial consumer protection of all operators in the financial sector, whether they are DTIs or non-DTIs, stated Clark. In response to questions from opposition members, Clark admitted that while the Twin Peaks model was under active contemplation for some time, it had become more urgent following the multi-billion-dollar fraud that has been uncovered at Stocks and Security Limited. Clark said the implementation of the Twin Peaks model is expected by 2026. He said a Twin Peaks concept paper, which sets out the legal and operational contours of the model, was prepared and submitted for approval by the BOJ FSC Twin Peaks Steering Committee, chaired by BOJ Governor Richard Blight in 2023. Clark stated, "The concept paper has been approved, and we're now in the final stage of the preparation of a Cabinet submission for the consideration and approval of Cabinet, following which formal drafting instructions will be issued for the development of the bill to address proposed changes to the law to give effect in the Twin Peaks model of financial regulation in Jamaica." The minister told the House that the development of the Twin Peaks legislation is receiving the required urgency and priority. "We believe that it would be better at this time to focus the limited resources on the development of the regulation for a comprehensive and robust regulatory framework that the Twin Peaks model will deliver, rather than developing an interim legislation to address the gaps relating to consumer protection for financial services," he further stated. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.